And some of this will be a little bit of review. But I'm going to take this back to the last generation and tell you the things that we did and maybe some things that you can see here that will help you save some money. The whole idea tonight is to help you save some money. Some of this, a little bit of it we went through last time, but most of it we did not. I'll give you, after a while, a lot of things to write down. I'll tell you what to write, when to write. What's it is? I have watched two generations. I have watched the generation of my childhood and my teenage years. And I have watched the generation of my adulthood. I know the differences in those two generations. Now, let me say this. The first generation that I watched was a generation that won the most powerful war of fought. It was a generation of people that had to fight the most mighty, most powerful, most highly armed army and military machine in the history of mankind. The German army. It was a professional army. It was not what you call a wartime army. And it had fought many, many battles and numbers of wars. All of a sudden, they attacked us. We chose our young men to leave out their homes and put them in put them in training for anywhere from 13 to 17 weeks. The longest number of times was 17 weeks. Those young men chosen from the laity, the 17 weeks of training, brought to its knees the mightiest army in the history of the world, the German army. That's the kind of generation that I saw when I was a youngster. Now, I've lived to see another generation. This generation of comfort, luxury, blessedness. I've seen this generation lose one of the smaller countries in the whole world, North Vietnam. I saw one generation where most people went to church. I knew that very well. Most people went to church. I've seen another generation where most people did not go to church. The generation I'm going to tell you about tonight is a generation that for all the ladies, I mean this, wore dresses. A generation where you never saw a pair of shorts in public. No, you never saw a pair of pants in public on a woman. I'm talking about a generation where the word divorce was almost unheard of. I'm talking about a generation where a woman never said a curse word. If a man said one presence of a woman, he apologized to her. I'm talking about a generation where very few, if a woman had a cigarette, she was a fallen woman. You never thought of a woman taking a drink with beer and anything like that. I'm talking about a generation where in the public school, class was mentioned, in some cases honored. I'm talking about a generation where on television, in movies, where decency was enforced on the movie. If you showed in the movie in those days a home scene, and you showed a bedroom where a married couple, they had to have twin beds. Because never did they want a man and a woman that weren't married to get in the same bed together. That's in the movie. Where one movie one time closed with, frankly, my dear, I don't give a D-A-M-N. It shocked the whole nation. People thought they could not believe that anybody would use that kind of language on a movie. Where all the movies were like Andy Griffin, or My Three Sons, that kind of thing. Still, I think they were wrong, but nevertheless. Now, I want to tell you some things about that generation tonight. And from the things that I tell you, all of these have to do, by the way, with money, saving money. And by the way, a generation where healthier in this generation. Nobody ever had AIDS. Hospitalization was hardly needed, and most people, as I'll tell you for a while, never went to a doctor. I want to tell you some things about that generation. Number one, you people had cars. You people had cars. People just learned to live without cars. Number two, people counted how much money they were going to have, or income they were going to have, and then drew up the budget. They didn't draw up the budget, try to find that much income. People found how much money they were going to have, and drew up the budget from that. It was never, I've got to have this much money to make it. It's always, this is how much I've got, and I'll make it, and this is the way I'll make it. You'd be surprised how many people come to me in a matter of a month's time saying, Brother Hyles, I've got to have a job, or I could you both say this week, I'm unemployed, but I couldn't take a certain job because it just didn't pay enough money to meet my needs. In those days, we determined our needs by how much money we had. We didn't set our needs down and then try to figure out how much money, try to find the money to take care of our needs. In those days, we figured how much money we had, and then we decided how much we were going to spend. Number three, we saved and then bought instead of buying and then paid. We saved and then bought instead of buying and then paid. Now, really, when I say we, I'm not talking about we because I was a boy and a teenager during that other generation. I became an adult about the time the end of the war. I went in the Army the last year of the war and World War II. So I'm not talking about what I did, I know what I saw. And of course, after the war, the whole thing changed. Luxury came, plenty came, prosperity came. And the very, very simple reason was, during the war, we built no houses. So as soon as the war was over, we had to build hundreds and millions of houses for the people. Because we spent all the time building barracks, armies. During the war, we built no cars. No cars were built during the war. So we had all kinds of prosperity after the war. So I'm talking about the generation from 1946 and back. I'm dividing that. Prosperity came in America as soon as the war ended. Everything. See, in the war, we couldn't buy gasoline. We got little coupons, coupons, stamps, called food. We got stamps. And the stamp allowed you to have so much gasoline. For example, average person could get about 5 gallons of gasoline a week, and that's all you get. You got a stamp, and you can only use that. You couldn't buy gasoline, you had the money and the stamp. Had food stamps. You had so many food stamps for meat. You couldn't buy meat without the money and the stamp. You had so many food stamps for other foods too. You had to during the war, we had shortage of everything. And so when the war was over, then all of a sudden we were behind in everything. We had to catch up with houses, had to catch up with cars, had to catch up with furniture, had to catch up with food, had to catch up with clothing, had to catch up with everything. So all of a sudden America was thrown into a tremendous time of unbelievable prosperity that lasted for that matter, it lasted for, oh my soul, I'd say 30 years. But anyway, in those days, people didn't buy, a credit card had not been invented in those days. In fact, the truth is, most folks didn't have enough money to have credit. So in those days, it was unheard of. For anybody to buy anything on credit. And you might go down to the grocery store because you have the money and ask the grocery you could pay at the end of the week, and he'd let you do that. And had a little book about that size, and he'd write down his order, then you write down, give you a copy of the receipt, and he'd have a little book and kept a little file there, how much you owed him. But we didn't buy it on credit in those days. Credit was unheard of in those days. Number 4. We bought if possible, by the book, ULP, or the book. You can do that today. We found we saved a lot of money. If you go to the average house, and you'd find maybe a can that high, that big around, that high, full of sugar. And you just bought enough sugar, and you could save, oh my soul, you could buy sugar for a third of the price that you buy. You bought it 2 pounds at a time or 5 pounds at a time. Bought flour with a book and kept a big, like a big garbage can size thing full of flour. Bought meal by the book, and we saved a lot of money buying things for the book. Number 5, we raised gardens. I'll tell you what we did, not let you know about the generation when I was just young. I'll tell you what we did, let you know that you can live this way today in almost every case. You'd be surprised what a garden would do for you. The next thing I want to give you is help. It's another use of the garden. But you're saving a lot of money on food. If you had a garden. How about the winter time? Okay, number 6 is everybody can. Everybody can. You raise a garden, and then you can the things in that garden. And that average house in those days, in the winter time, this time of year, if you open a certain closet in that house, you'd find jars. They call it canning, actually it's jars, but they'll call it canning. You'd find jars of green beans, jars of hominy, jars of corn, jars of peaches, pears, many kinds of vegetables and fruit. Now, what we didn't have any money, so we raised a garden. And then we raised that garden. We ate in the summertime from that garden. And then the surplus from the garden, we canned and put it in steel jars. And in the wintertime, we ate what we canned in the summertime. You'd be amazed what it would do for you if your wife and you would learn how to can. You could go out here, for example, in some of these places, they have the truck farm. And you can get vegetables almost for nothing if you pick them yourself. And sometimes other things too, fruit stores. But you pick them yourself. And you can can those things. You could save yourself hundreds of dollars a year on your grocery bill by canning. Number 7. This is something that we never did. This is a no-no. We never carried money on our person. We never carried money on our person. Never carried cash with us. We were tempted to spend some. Because we didn't have much, and we knew we shouldn't spend it. We never carried money, not even change. Unless we knew we had to spend some, we just were going somewhere casually. We never carried money. Number 8, we had no utilities. or kerosene. Hardly anybody has gas, electricity. That's what he said. Can you imagine how much you could live on if you didn't have any car payment, any gasoline payment, no car insurance? I don't remember the first time the car insurance came in. They would pass the law. Instead of Texas, you had to have liability insurance. You know how much it was a year? $25 a year. I'm talking about the same thing. You're paying $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 for a year. $25 a year. And that was back in the 1950s. I'm talking about 1955 or 6 or 7. That's when all that came in. But can you imagine if you didn't have any car payment or any car insurance or any gasoline expense and no light bill and no gasoline bill? Can you imagine how much you could save, how you could live? Now, I think it's possible today for a person to live without utility if he had to. Now we're talking about you decide how much money you got coming in. You've got to live on that. So what do? You trim whatever you have to trim. Now some people would trim your buildings. And we got by for years. Well, everybody got by for centuries without electric light. It's just a way of life. And you could get by now without electric light. You know? I was driving by the college the other day, cemetery the other day. Somebody was giving the cemetery thousands of cross ties. You see them stacked up out there. They do a thing. I was thinking, if a guy could survive through those cross ties, he'd have enough heat. Last in winter time, I can recall my dad used to try to find a cross tie and it lasted for weeks for heat. That's where we live. Now, you say, well, you can't get that way anymore. Well, now, it all depends on how much money you got. No talking, please. It depends on how much money you got. I'm saying you have no right to spend more money than you're making. So you figure out how much you're making, then you figure out how to live on it. And so, I know you said number 9, nobody ever bought new furniture. Nobody ever bought new furniture. Number 10, nobody has carpet. I'm not sure carpet was heard of in those days. The truth is, we thought in those days the prettiest floor in the world was a highly waxed wood oak floor. We thought that was the epitome of beauty. So, nobody had carpet. Just had wood floors. Later, when we started covering the floors up, we didn't go for carpet. We bought rugs. Just like a small rug, put right in the middle or right in front of under the coffee table or something. But that's all we had. Number 11, we had no telephone. Whenever telephones came in, I don't know if they have them now or not. They still have party lines. Everybody had party lines. We used to have, there'd be 4 people on one line. And you could use the telephone whenever nobody else on the line was talking. Like, you have 4 families. No families, the same line. And which means that much of the time you pick up the phone and somebody was talking on it. You could only use the phone if nobody was talking. And then, I recall the first telephone we ever had, we shared it with the apartment. We lived in an apartment then. We had people on the other side. We cut a hole in the wall between the 2 apartments and put a little desk there, telephone there on that desk, and we both used the same telephone. There's so many ways that we used to have to live. And by the way, we got along very well. And, all right. Number 12, we had no television. And then not been invented. 13, we bought our eyeglasses at a 5 and 10 cent store, and you still can. The other day, I went down and had my eyes checked. I could not believe what it cost me. At the first place, I had to have a doctor's appointment with that pretty little girl I told you about, a lady, and had a doctor's appointment. Then I had to have, I got me 3 pairs of glasses. One to keep my suitcase all the time, and one to keep at home, and one to keep with me. And cost me over $500. I couldn't believe it. I was blessed. Now, so it happens that I can afford that. But you know what you can do? You can go down, take your newspaper or magazine, go down to the 5 and dime store, and you can find, you keep on trying those glasses on, have them laid out there. Keep trying them on, you find the ones that you can reach under that. That's all the doctor does. He's got that new old fancy machine up there, and he puts a lens in there and says, how can you see out? You see better with this, all of a sudden, all with this. And you get the prescription that you can see better through. Do the same thing in a 5 and dime store. You can find these glasses down there, and for about $10, $10, $15, you can buy it. I know I was down in Chattanooga, Tennessee about 10 years ago, and my glasses broke. My glasses always break right there, over the nose there, because when I do like that, it's stressing, because sometimes I'm taking them, and it breaks it. And I had those glasses, and I only have 1 pair of them. I went down to the 5 and dime store. I bought me a pair of glasses. I could see out of just as well as I could see out of the ones that I got in the optometrist. And I wore them for 5 years. And by the way, we live. And in those days, we paid about $1.25 for a pair of glasses. Be surprised. Yeah, see, we do so much because the doctors have brainwashed us. But I'll guarantee you, exactly what you do with that machine, that doctor just puts those glasses in there and says, which one you can see best out of. Finally, she finds the lens that you can see best out of, and she gives you those glasses. Do the same thing at a 5 and dime store. All right? I'm not saying it's as good, but I'm saying we got along with it. My mother lived to 96 years old, and mother was 70. She wore glasses at the time she was about 35. When she was 70, before she went to an optometrist and had glasses made for her. And she lived to 96. She probably lived longer, of course, if she had an optometrist all those years. Number 14. We had shoes had sold. Is that a term that's still used? That shoes had sold. Now, nobody had but 1 pair of shoes. I don't know if they still have this or not, but we'd go down to the 5 and dime store. 5 and dime store had everything. And the 5 and dime store had a bunch of the booths. Looks sort of like a penalty box and eye pocket. And a little booth there. And you'd go in and they'd take your shoes off. You don't have 1 pair of shoes. You'd sit there without any shoes on. Or they'd have sold your shoes and bring them back to you. But not sold. We would have the same pair of shoes I had sold half the time. You don't have 1 pair of shoes. In those days, shoes were supposed to keep your feet warm and dry. And a coat was supposed to keep you warm. And a pair of pants was supposed to keep you warm. Clothes weren't meant in those days to decorate you. They were meant to keep you comfortable. And, for example, everybody had 1 coat, that's all. If you're lucky, you had 1 coat. No more than 1 coat. Most ladies only had 1 dress that they wear to church. I'll guarantee you that 95% of all the ladies went to church. They wore the same dress every Sunday. Man had 1 suit, and he wore it on Sunday, that's all. Just 1 suit clothes, all they ever had, and wore it on Sunday. Next number. air conditioning? You could save yourself, probably, I'll throw a wild guess out, probably $25, $30 a month on a car payment. You didn't buy an air-conditioned car. Air conditioning, fellas, wasn't invented until about the 1950s. And so this world lived for 6,000 years almost without air conditioning. And you'd be amazed how well you get along without air conditioning anywhere. We had no air conditioning. Next number, we didn't use toothpaste. We used salt or soda. We brushed our teeth with salt or soda. The stores where I say you sell toothpaste, but nobody buys it. Nobody could afford it. You go down and pay $1 or something for a tube of toothpaste, ain't nothing about it. But you don't have to have toothpaste. They always use salt or soda. That's all they use. They recommended soda or salt. Next thing, nobody used shampoo. All of this stuff is stuff we've been brainwashed about. To this day, I don't use any shampoo. I don't have anything to shampoo. When I wash what little hair I got, I use soap. What kind of soap? I don't know. What kind of, I sit at the motel room usually, what kind of soap they got there in the motel room. Soap. You have to have shampoo. We talk about grocery bills. Most of your grocery bills aren't groceries.
Yes. Amen.
We didn't use sacks. We wrapped our shoes in old newspapers and tied string, usually thread, around it. Yeah, we didn't have sacks. Who ever heard of saran wrap? Never heard something like that. Why? Because we had to live with what money we had. Sometimes your wife gets home from the grocery store, you guys are married. Just go in and look at the groceries and see how much is groceries, how much not groceries. Next number. We didn't go to doctors. Hardly anybody went to the doctor in the generation, the first generation I saw. Hardly anybody. We didn't go to the doctor unless you cut yourself where you had to be stitched up, or unless you had something like pneumonia or strep throat, which was sometimes fatal. Next number, we always cut our own hair. Somebody went to a barber, the rich people. Cut our own hair. We didn't have electric things to cut away. We had these little squeeze things. There's one of those squeeze things to cut your hair with. But nobody went. Some people, and I've seen this, I've seen fellas just put a bowl on their head, and their dad would take the scissors and just cut around. The hair came down like that, and to the right angle towards your neck. But they just took the scissors and cut under the bowl. And but nobody went to the barber. Next number, nobody ever used fingers. For that, nobody ever took their clothes to fingers. Now, when I say nobody, I'm talking about nobody like you and me. Rich people did. I'm saying the whole philosophy was this. If we didn't have enough money to get a suit clean, we didn't get the suit clean. And if we didn't have enough money to buy toothpaste, we didn't buy toothpaste. We didn't have enough money to buy shampoo, we didn't buy shampoo. We didn't have enough money to pay the utility bill. We had a wood stove and kerosene lamps and lanterns. You know, now people say to me, they say, did you know so-and-so? They had the utilities cut off. Well, there are ways to heat without having a furnace. You keep warm. Now, I don't want you to have to, but I'm saying if that's all the money you got back, Frankie, that's what you ought to do. You know, nowadays, we'll just declare bankruptcy. Well, brother, that's crooked. You don't have to. Most folks don't have to. Bankruptcy should never be an alternative. All right, next number. Hardly anybody ever went to the hospital. Hardly anybody ever went to the hospital. know why everybody goes to hospital today? Do you know all the why? For the convenience of the doctor. The hospital hasn't got anything other than you said. Hospital hasn't got anything that you couldn't do at home if you cared for by somebody that loves you. We didn't go to the hospital. You say, well, why didn't you? It was not a possibility. We didn't have an medical hospital. Hospitalization had not been invented. Nobody had hospitalization. I mean, nobody. It was not a part of our life. So a hospital was not, unless somebody, if you mentioned somebody going to the hospital, the first thing you thought, he must be dying. Because nobody went to the hospital. You say, well, what? Because we live within our means. Next number. And told us this in the ears. The doctor came to your house. The doctor came to your house. You go to the doctor, he came to you. You were real sick, the doctor came to the house. And by the way, you were real sick when he came. You didn't just have a sore throat, or a bad cold, or the croup. You were bad sick. Next number. We use homemade remedies when ill. We use homemade remedies when ill. Next number, we walk anywhere within 2 miles. Any place we went within 2 miles, we walk. We walk to school. We walk to work. And we were healthy. Also, walk to the store. Next number. We never used any heat in the houses at night. We went to bed, all the heat was turned off. I don't know how your house is. We keep our house about 68 in the daytime. And thermostats about 62 at night. But now we can afford that. But it wouldn't hurt. Turn it down to 40 at night.
Turn it off.
Lower than that, we don't call back the stove. We didn't have. If you had a fire at night, you'd stay up all night and keep it going. We had no fire at night. You're amazed how well you could live without any heat at night. Next number. And I've given you this idea before, but I'm going to give you some tonight. It's sort of silly, but it's practical. We ate one food meal. We ate one food meal. Of course, you don't have to worry about this stuff, because you're sort of cooking it anyhow. You don't got to worry about it. All you got is get a stupid credit card. Keep buying. When you borrow everything, and you can't make the payments, you declare bankruptcy, start over again. You dirty cook. But the fact that you declare bankruptcy does not mean in the sight of God that you're clear of debt. If the government frees you of your debt, God does not free you of your debt. I'll say something. I want to say this. I say it kindly, but I say it frankly. If you do not decide how much money you have, and with that much money you have coming in, then decide to live within that money, you're a crooked man. You're crooked. You're crooked. Somebody's got to pay for that stuff. Somebody's got to pay that money that you don't have. You guys want to wake up.
Yeah.
Get a little character in your bones. Spoiled brats. That's what most of us are. Mm-hmm. You don't care anything about this. You got enough credit cards to get you by. You can get. I talked to a man within our church, $35,000 he owes on credit cards, and can't make a payment on one thing. And you're headed there. Only reason you don't do it because you haven't got that good credit. You're headed there. I'm saying what you ought to be doing is you ought to be excited. Some of you single guys. It doesn't affect you because you're spoiled. I mean, now the simple truth is, what you ought to do is decide that you're going to be an honest, upright, decent citizen. Listen to me. I started off making $7.50 a week pastor of Baptist church. I pastored 4 Baptist churches before I ever got over $85 a week. But in 45 years of marriage, there has never been one payment paid late by this man. Because I do not buy anything unless I, K-N-O-W, know that I can make payments. This church is not a wealthy church. We have a lot of money. But we don't pay anything late. This church has got the best credit rating of any church in this county. And there's not one human being in this county has a better credit rating than Jack Hyles. I don't have a lot of money. Never have had a lot of money. When I get some, I try to give it away. But I've never said, I've got to have so much, I'll try to find this job because I've got to have this much money. You don't have to have any more than what you've got. Exactly what you got to have. Boy, I'd like to rear some men at Hyles Anderson College.
Amen.
I'd like to turn out some real men. Some men who pay their debts. And not men that go that say, well, I gotta have some school clothes for the kids, so then I'm buying on credit cards and figure out how to pay it later. No, you don't do it that way. Remember I told you a while ago we had barrels to put our sugar in. Remember that? We bought sugar and flour and meal in big sacks. You know what they did in those days? Those sacks were always had colors and designs. And that's where we made our clothes. We made dresses out of pink satin. We made shirts out of pink satin. Look at that buy a shirt. We had to live. And I mean, you ever buy a shirt? Only if we had money to buy a new shirt. But nobody had the philosophy that 90% of the people in this room have tonight, and 99 to 100% of Americans have, and that is, you've got to have so much money. There's no such thing as a poverty level. There's an honesty level. The honesty level is how much you got coming in, exactly how much you're supposed to spend. And no more. I want to talk to you about these one food meals. I'm going to be very practical. I want you to take this down. Now, I say one food. Sometimes we have 2 foods, but two different kinds. I want to give you what we ate. Now, this is what we ate. It's not what the government would call a well-balanced diet. But the average American doesn't have a well-balanced diet. Right. Average American eats a McDonald's one night, Burger King the next night, Pizza Hut the next night. You know that's true. But this is what we had. One meal. I'm going to give you a bunch of meals. One meal. Scrambled eggs and fried potatoes. That's all we had. Scrambled eggs and fried potatoes. You know how much an egg costs? Anybody know? How much? About a nickel. Maybe a little more. Maybe 7 cents now. In a nickel, 7 cents. You have 3 scrambled eggs, that's 20 cents. Anywhere between 15 and 20 cents. 1 fried potato is all you need. What's this size potato cost? I know? Nickel. What? 9? Nickel? All right. You'd be amazed how good 1 fried potato and scrambled eggs are. Of course, you fat cats, you're not interested in that. Uh-oh. That's you at all. You lazy generation.
But
Gluttonous wine bibbers, you're not wine bibbers, but I mean, it's honest with it. You don't care. But we ate like that. Scrambled eggs and fried potatoes. Another thing, scrambled eggs and sliced tomatoes.
hey,
eggs and tomatoes. Next thing, a cheese omelet and tomatoes. A cheese omelet, tomatoes. I could make you the best meal you had in a week. You let me make you a cheese omelet sometime. Anytime. What do I do? You make it yourself. Yeah, oh. That's cat. But, take 3 eggs, put them in a saucepan, get you a egg beater, or an egg beater, get your fork, and just put the meal heavy, and get an egg beater, and heat it up, to get as fluffy as you can. Put some kind of grease, and we used to keep grease. We fried bacon, we always poured the grease in a little container and kept the grease. We never bought it short, we bought it large. We kept the grease in a little container. Always did. We never threw out anything. We never threw anything out. Our house, the dog was scared to stay in our house very long. Anytime the dog was missing, I was suspicious of something. But then get put those grease on in the skillet, and then you pour that 3 eggs, beaten heavily, in the grease, and then when it gets a little bit brownish going on one side, turn it over. Don't put too much grease in there. The grease. Turn it over, and then put your piece of cheese on half of it, and then turn it. Take the egg like that, and turn it over like that, fold it over the cheese, and then get it as brown as you want on both sides, and you've got yourself a delicious cheese on it. I guarantee you. Splash you some tomato, and that cheese on it, and I'll tell you what, you'll be full when you get through, and it will not have cost you over 30 cents. That's what you see. These are how our folks stay healthy. We didn't know what hospitals were. We didn't use doctors.
Right.
Most of us, when the lifetime, got to use a prescription. We know what prescriptions were. We did drugstore. Went to the drugstore. We could afford the medicine. Another thing we'd use for a meal, delicious meal. I still love it. Pinto beans and cornbread. Just pinto beans and cornbread. You'd be amazed how cheap you could eat just a whole big bowl of pinto beans.
Ketchup on that thing, man.
One big meal. Another suggestion. Potato soup and cheese. Potato soup and cheese. By potato soup, I mean cream soup. Use a little milk in it. That was the whole meal. So I was 14 years old before I ate anything different what I'm thinking about right now. I mean that. Of course, I weigh 60 pounds, but this is what ordinary folks like you and me ate in those days. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I go out to college and I look at them. It's unbelievable the way you guys eat the college. Unreal. I know my diet is not, my diet can't compare with the way you eat the college. But I'm not saying, and I want to eat that at the college, but I'm saying that you don't have to. If you don't have the money, you don't eat it. You eat what you can afford. You don't try to afford what you want to eat. You eat what you can afford. I guarantee you can make potato soup and eat some cheese with it. I guarantee you that you will, you can do that for 20 cents. Something else we ate, and then I love this meal, fried potatoes and fresh tomatoes. Just slice the tomatoes, fry some potatoes, fried potatoes and fresh tomatoes. Another meal we had, macaroni and cheese. Yeah, but you see, when you eat macaroni and cheese, you eat with another two vegetables and a meat. That was our whole meal, macaroni and cheese. Another meal, gravy and biscuits. Gravy and biscuits. How'd you make the gravy? From that grease we saved from the bacon. Well, Mama had some grease around the house and some flour. She could make biscuits out of the flour and gravy out of the grease.
That man's preaching, man.
That's all it is. A little bit of milk. A little bit of milk. And some bacon grease. And sometimes a little flour. Always some flour. You got yourself what we call bacon gravy. And you take about 4 biscuits and open them up and cover it with bacon gravy, and you'll be full. You say, was that nourishing? What you could do. Get your little bottle of one-day vitamin pills. Take one of your one-day vitamin pills every time you stuff the gravy and bread down your throat. You got your vitamins and you got your food. All you got to do is fill yourself up. Gravy and bread will do it easily. But it won't cost you to take one-day vitamin. Once a day wouldn't cost you much money. I don't want you to live like this. I want you to have everything you want to eat, but if you don't have the money, you shouldn't get anything else. Something we did. One whole meal used to be fried green tomatoes and scrambled eggs. Fried green tomatoes and scrambled eggs. Get a green tomato, put it in the batter. You can put iron and flour, salt, get some hot grease, stick it in there and fry it. Delicious. Tastes a lot like fried eggplant. Close your eyes. Garlic before you eat.
Hold your nose.
I'm sorry. Scrambled eggs. It was that. Fried green tomatoes, scrambled eggs. Now, if we had fried green tomatoes, we'd scramble one egg. We just have an egg, and that's all we would scramble in 3. Or an omelet, make 3. Another. This is one of my favorite meals. Is the term dry salt bacon in India?
Yeah.
All right? And they call it hog jaw. I don't know if that bacon that has salty rind on it.
Yeah.
It's cheap bacon. Usually you buy it at slices with a knife. We have dry salt bacon with gravy and mashed potatoes. Costs almost nothing. One whole meal. Another meal. Canned spinach with pepper sauce.
Leave that now.
Fried potatoes.
Hold your nose.
Spinach and fried potatoes. I'm just taking the meals we ate. This is what I grew up on. Next one. Salmon croquette, sliced tomato. Salmon croquette, sliced tomato. Next one. Cereal and fruit. I mean by that, a bowl of cereal and an apple maybe. Or an orange, pear. I don't mean cereal and fruit like cereal and raisins and cereal and strawberries. Peaches, I mean just plain piece of fruit and a bowl of cereal. That's about all I eat every morning for breakfast. I eat a bowl of raisin bread, cereal, every morning, breakfast. Still do. Next number. This may sound strange to you, but it's healthy. Popcorn and sliced tomatoes. Popcorn, sliced tomatoes. Popcorn is healthy for you.
Right.
Low in calories, low in cholesterol if you don't put too much grease on it. Low in calories. Popcorn and sliced tomatoes will fill you up. It's surprised how little it costs you to pop to go bowl of popcorn. I talked to Dr. Jennings, pastor down at Hyles Auditorium Church, Chattanooga. We're talking about the food, and he told me this. He said that his family eats breakfast and lunch, and nothing else for the rest of the day except all the popcorn they want every day. Popcorn's a good food. When I'm traveling somewhere, if I have to use a vending machine, I always try to find a vending machine that has popcorn. A lot better than potato chips or corn chips. Something else. Can of pork and beans. Plain old pork and beans. It's fried. How good are they? Either cold or hot. It's fried. How good. You put an old, you need a can of cold pork and beans, or heat those pork and beans and pour it over these sprinkles. Next one, Campbell soup and crackers, as always on the end. Or Campbell soup and crackers. Next one, rice and fried potatoes. I've given you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I've given you enough meals right here to feed you all week long. I guarantee you, you and your wife and one kid, I guarantee you it wouldn't cost you $20. Now, that's if you don't have the money. That's what you do. Let me give you some snacks we have. Macaroni sticks. One, macaroni or spaghetti sticks. Macaroni still kind of long sticks. You buy it long sticks? Or is it a little elbow stuff now? Used to, the macaroni came in, you got macaroni in the box, about that long. And we just, I just come out and have a macaroni stick and go out and play it. Eat a macaroni stick as I went out. You know where I got candy? We love it. We mix some cocoa and sugar in a cup. Ate with a spoon. Despite how good it is. That's my candy. Got a little cocoa. Put some cocoa and sugar in the bottom of the cup. Snacks, 3 popcorn. 4 popcorn balls. 5, we made our own candy and cookies. One night a week we'd make fudge. Cost much. Made our own fudge. 6, we made our own ice cream. We have what we call snow ice cream. Anybody ever eaten snow ice cream? Make snow ice cream. Every time it snows, make some ice cream with the snow. Then rich folks had a free ice cream freezer, if you want. But when we got a report refrigerator, you take the old ice container. You still make ice cream in those ice containers? Take your ice, where you make your ice maker in your refrigerator. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Take the little square divider out. All you got to do is get you some milk, sugar, vanilla flavoring. Don't put an egg in it. Open an egg up, put it in there, put it in that thing, let it freeze. Next morning you have ice cream. You never bought me ice cream. Now, for the house, do you now? I want some I can. I couldn't afford ice cream now. I couldn't afford ice cream then. Couldn't afford ice cream, didn't eat ice cream. Next number. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
Next number and last. Raisin bread and butter sandwich. You know, that's what they sold at the school lunchroom for lunch. For 3 cents, you get a raisin bread, 2 pieces of raisin bread, butter spread between it, and a little carton of milk. Pay 3 cents for the whole thing. You had a dime, you could buy a plate lunch, but nobody had a dime much. And so, but that's all we had for lunch. Raisin bread, the butter, things, the sandwich, and some milk. Now, fellas, America was healthier in those days than she is now. Talk about balanced diets. You take people today on poverty have color television sets.
VCR.
People on poverty have fancy radios.
Come on, breakfast.
People on poverty eat boiled ham, baked ham.
Yeah.
But this was our whole society. This is the way that America lived, the America that was patriotic and won World War II. So it is. Now, I'm telling you everything I said tonight is to say this. I'd like to turn out some young men here at Hyles College who have enough character to decide how they're going to live after they decide how much money they have to live on. The average young man in this room tonight, it is a disgrace. A disgrace. How many of our young men, single, got out of college before the finance?
Oh, my.
There's no excuse for that.
Amen.
They haven't got the character. They got a horse hook you.
Yes, sir.
No need for it. You guys that go to McDonald's and eat when you got the dining hall out there, you're stupid. And you're cooking. You got food out there. You live in the dorms. You got food out there you can eat. Part of your room board. You pay for it. No excuse for you single men to drop out of school. You don't knock anything. You don't back the church worth a dime. You think you get far in debt, you won't be able to pay the bills. You haven't got any character, you haven't got responsibility. Learn to pass McDonald's and wave it back to it. Unless you got money. I don't mean you got money in your pocket, I mean you got money in your pocket.
Right.
Most of the fundamental churches in America have gone under because of financial irresponsibility. Every week, Mr. Stevens sends me every week a report. On that report, it shows for the college what the budget is for that week at the college, how much money came in that week at the college, how much balance we have from in the college account, how much balance we have in every account. Every month I get a report and read it to the deacons at the church. Every item I read off. We have this much balance in every account. I may say Foster Club, $32.16. Fisherman's Club, $142.75. But we stay in the black. We stay in the black. And if we don't have the money, we cut the budget. We don't decide how much money we need and raise it. We decide how much money we raise and decide how much we're going to spend on that day.
Yeah.
In the 1960s, great churches sprang up all over America. Great churches. Biggest fundamental churches America's ever had in the late 60s and early 70s. 3 out of 4 of those churches now are almost dead. And not 1 out of 10 is as big as it was then. And I'll guarantee you 90% of it was spending what we don't have. Now, fellas, and by the way, if you spend what you don't have in your personal life, you'll spend what you don't have in the church. You won't change your character when you leave home to go out to the church office. You're the same person in the office or at home. Sure. And the way you handle your personal finances at home, the same way you'll handle the church finances. Sure. Now, I don't believe in stacking up our money. We don't have any money stacked up. We spend it. You can't get anybody saved with money in the bank. We spend it. But we don't spend what we don't have. 1 year, 2 years ago, college income got a little down because of finances here. I called up Evans in, I said, the rest of this year, we'll operate on 80% of our budget. 80%. Every department will operate on 80%. Department head came and said, we can operate on 80%. I said, but you can't, because you're going to.
Amen.
Well, why? I said, because we're honest. We'll spend what we have. We won't spend what we don't have.
Yeah.
We'll spend what we have. Brother, these Saturday night meetings are not as much fun to teach as the lives of John Rice and Bob Jones and G.B. Vick. I'll guarantee you'll love me the rest of your life. You'll hug my picture after I'm dead and gone. If you will live in every area of your life within your means.
Amen.